Hey everybody, welcome. Craig and I are back again, and we're bringing back an old favorite, Craig. Not
Yeah.
sure how often we're going to do this, but our YouTube show. Joe Castle took a little break from us. Joe had some personal stuff going on. Joe wants to come back. He's looking for a good day to come back, and I told him Wednesday's the day to come back. But we're trying to prime the pump, man, getting people ready for the YouTube show. And I like this guy. I'm not as revved up about him as some of the other YouTube personalities get revved up by. But Cash Jordan, he's a guy who works with apartments in the New York City area,
Yeah.
and he's found a what do you call it? He's found his audience. I mean, he just talks about the apartments.
Yeah.
I could go for some of the reasons why I like him, but first of all, Craig, what's your review of Cash Jordan? We've disagreed famously on some of these guys. Are you pro Cash, anti Cash? Where are you at with
I'm pro. I don't think there's any reason to not like him. I think he puts together, a compelling tour of this apartment and other apartments. I will say, and look, I don't know anything about Bushwick, but I kind of felt like it was a little maybe misleading when he put on it's a luxury apartment on New York City's roughest block. I kind of don't, just because it has like spray paint, graffiti, things like that. I don't know that I would say it looked like it was the roughest block. I mean, it wasn't like there were just like sirens going all over the place all the time or whatever. It didn't really look like it was that dangerous. Maybe it's dangerous at night, or maybe it's more dangerous than he lets on to be, than I know. But I don't know. It seemed like it was like, oh, hey, here's this great apartment, but it's in a terrible area. It kind of looked like it was a growing development, gentrifying area with places to go and shops and good looking apartments. So, maybe it was a little bit of a stretch for me to believe that, but nonetheless, it was interest. It's always interesting. We've talked about these New York City apartments before, about how much it costs to, rent something in particular. So it's always interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, like when it comes to how rough is your neighborhood. My neighborhood, I mean, if I'm a woman, I probably wouldn't walk around at 3 in the morning by myself.
Right. Yeah.
And there's been some wacky stuff that's happened recently in my neighborhood. But, if you're inside, you're fine. I mean, if you're just walking around aimlessly, you might get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just, you never know. And you got to be careful, too, because you can't just say, oh, there's a graffiti, so it must be a bad area.
Right.
But maybe he watched the news and there was a murder in Bushwick like the night before or something. Yeah. Who knows? Here's what I like about Cash Jordan, and I've actually kind of gotten into a bunch of his other videos. He starts out his video, and there's a little teaser for what the apartment looks like, but I love how he goes around the neighborhood and gives you an idea of what's around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now, is it always that compelling? No. I think Cash Jordan did his best Dame Drops impersonation, talking about a lot of the food places around, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, but I guess here's the thought. I always picture myself, if I lived in New York City, where would I live at? Well, if you're watching the video, not only do you say, hey, this apartment's great or this apartment's bad, but you can also take a look and say, oh, what's in the neighborhood around? So he's showing you Subway. He's showing you, where else was there? Kind of a lot of fast food around there and everything.
Chicken was there.
Yeah.
Burger King was there. Various laundromats, fruit stands, dollar store. So yeah, I mean, and I have to admit, it's funny because, coming from sort of a small town to a bigger city, where there's 170,000 people in Clarksville, my wife and I were looking at apartments and we really weren't thinking about like what's around where we were living at the time. We were more concerned about crime rates and what kind of crime has happened at those places or around the areas. But we lucked out, actually, because the place that we live at, we literally can walk to Wendy's, we can walk to a Walmart, we can walk to Food Lion, which is a grocery store. We have 2 gas stations within half a mile of us. So there's so much that if we ended up having to walk, we could walk somewhere, or whatever it may be. And it's nice and convenient to be able to say, well, we want to go out, but we don't want to drive 20 minutes away to get what we want, or 30 minutes away, or whatever, or have to drive that much at all. I mean, like I said, it's less than a half a mile from here to Walmart. So location, location, location. And that's what I appreciate about what he does here in this video, where it's like you get familiarized with the area before you even see the apartment.
Yeah, and there is a lot of subways around New York. It doesn't mean that you're locked into your spot, but yeah, I mean, when I've moved someone to patch, you always want to know, hey, is there food places around or everything else? Yeah, he's making some wisecracks about Subway right now. I've got it on muted in the background, so yeah, very interesting. Qdoba. I don't know if there's that many Qdobas in your neck of the woods, but there's one in Columbus I frequent. It's a nice spot.
Yeah, I don't think there are any Qdobas here. I know there was, the only time I've ever seen one really was when I went to college. There was one at Bowling Green. So I've really never seen Qdoba, to be honest with you, other than one time.
Here's one thing in general. And I don't think any of the places that he showed you had laundry in unit. But, man, I'll tell you, I might anticipate moving really soon, but if I had to move again, laundry's got to be in the place I'm in, if it's apartment, house, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm completely in on that. We do not have laundry in our apartment.
Ooh,
and
okay.
we found a great laundromat. Problem is, it's like 16, 18 minutes away. And of course, we've got to go through the motions of going there, and you've got to take all your soap, and you got to put money on your card, and you got to do all that stuff that goes with it that you wouldn't have to do if it was in unit already. So yeah, that is actually one thing as we look to move to Nashville that we're kind of looking to see if places have. That's definitely a big feather in the cap if a place has in-house laundry. Even if it's not in the room, but if it's in the building, that would be great too. So, yeah.
Here's my problem. I'm tired right now. If I put laundry in right now, I probably fall asleep before I remember to pick it up. Now, if it's in my house, that's okay. I wake up. I may have to redo it for one load, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Man, if you put all your laundry and you fall asleep, you never, depending on where you're at, you may lose all your clothes.
Yeah. It's a big selling point. I can imagine it being a selling point for New Yorkers or just even, I mean, in this case, this guy's touring a $4,000 a month apartment, right? So now maybe in New York City, that's chump change, although he calls it a luxury apartment. I guess it's probably based on some of the apartments we've seen on some of the YouTube videos we've watched. A luxury apartment would be anything that you can actually put a queen size bed in. But, it was a nice apartment, and it didn't have like a half a fridge, and it didn't have half a stove, and all this, it didn't have like a desk that turns into a bed or whatever. So maybe that's why it's a luxury kind of apartment. But I think ultimately it's a very nice apartment. Can I afford that? No. How do people in New York City afford their apartments? I guess jobs just pay really well there. I don't know. Either that, or you just have to have this dream of saying, I want to live in New York City. I'm willing to spend whatever it costs to live out my dream, I guess.
Yeah, but you get to the point, like I figured out, I think it was like if you made 80,000, if you look at the old stats, it says, hey, you shouldn't spend more than like 30% of your income on your house. Right, I mean, you're looking at, maybe affording a $1,500 rent thing. And, and you can always say, well, live with some of your friends. That doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to live on your own. And, if you're married and your wife comes with you, does she work? Is she help? Is she able to help out? Because man, writing a check. I mean, I think this one was like what 3,000 some change or 4,000.
4,000. Yeah.
Can you imagine paying 4,000 each month? Writing that check or making.
Well, I couldn't do that. Yeah, I mean, I
Jeez.
definitely couldn't do that. And honestly, even too, like if you're thinking about, well, how much is, like if you have a family and you're trying to live with a family in New York, I mean, I don't know how you could do that. You almost have no choice but to live in the suburbs or whatever and just take the trains and stuff in, because I can't even imagine how expensive it would be because if you're looking for like 2-3 bedroom apartments, like a 2-bedroom, I'm looking at it right now. There's a 2-bedroom apartment in Nashville for like $3,800.
Wow.
There's a 4-bedroom or a 3-bedroom layout for up to $10,000 a month. A month. Like, who are these people that can afford these places?
I think prices have gone up.
Oh yeah.
I was looking at how do I say this? I can't talk about this that much. I was looking at the possibility of what it would cost to live in Cleveland. Let's just phrase it like that. Man, even Cleveland, which definitely isn't Nashville or New York.
Yeah.
Man, you can't rent a half decent place for under $1,000 now. And I mean, I'm paying. I think, if I recall right, my house payment's like $750, $770 a month or something. But I mean, it's a house I'm paying off, and it's not perfect, but
these days.
Yeah, these days it's right. And I keep telling people I'm not sure if I can afford to move, because with where housing is right now, I mean, maybe it's a more desirable location, but you're not going to get what you have. And when you have kids, you need a certain amount of room and bedrooms just to give them what they need. We all can't sleep in one bed together, so you got to each give them a room. And man, it's hard. It's tough. So
that it is.
It's kind of interesting looking at, and this was just published a day ago.
Okay.
Apparently, it says all these apartments are empty. Now, I will tell you, and again, it looks like a tougher area. Probably visually may not be the best appealing place to stay at. I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to live your life. If you're working from home and everything, it's not a bad place to stay. I mean, if it's a place you have to, walk around late at night, maybe you don't want to do that. But, man, I could just hang out there and stay in my apartment and get some work done.
Yeah, I always kind of feel like if you're a New Yorker, though, you don't want to work from home or work in your apartment, because unless you get a nicer apartment, like I guess, these are compared to the ones we've seen in the past where it's like a shoebox.
Right.
Like I would almost get, cabin fever being in there so much and not having enough space to kind of spread out and, enjoy my thoughts for a change. So I don't know. I'd almost feel like the smaller the apartment, the more you probably don't stay in it.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Maybe they volunteer to work in the office, even if it's a remote job. Like, well, I'll work from the office if need be.
Cash is looking at this other apartment, third floor, no elevator, 2887. And you're walking flights of stairs too, man. I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the housing market has completely shifted over the years, and you got to be fortunate when you can find something relatively inexpensive. I mean, like your house payment, for instance, is a really prime example. Like, that's a good deal, honestly, in today's market.
Yeah, well, and you've got, man, you got to have that in laundry. I mean, I'm seeing some of these places, and I think the one that he's showing now, it's 2087, and there's no laundry inside.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to have a nice laundry area, but for 2087, I want my laundry to be inside the place.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, it's very interesting. We talk about other videos that come out. Cash isn't as dramatic, I would say, as some of the other people we've talked to, but he has some honest videos. There was a video where he spoke about, I think his wife just gave birth and she was in the hospital for a little bit, so he talked about that. And some other stuff about New York. I think one day he was just frustrated about the cost of living in New York, not just the cost of the apartments.
Yeah.
And he got a video kind of critical of that too. So overall, I think it's good. He's not quitting every other day, Craig. And
Right.
I mean, hey, we're here for the apartment tours, but hey, if Cash wants to gripe about stuff, let him gripe. You can get away with that maybe once a month on my taste. Or my opinion.
Well, I mean, he can move to Nashville, the trendy city of Nashville. We're home to a lot of transplants from elsewhere. So I don't know if like he does specific work that keeps him in New York, but like let's say he's just a YouTube guy and that's all he does for his income. Come on down. I'm sure you could tour the luxury apartments here too.
I think he's an apartment broker, if I recall right.
Okay.
Where I'm sure you could be an apartment broker in the Nashville area, but there's probably more need and more interest, in New York for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, makes sense.
Trying to see. Yeah, I agree. If you think it's New York's roughest block, I don't know. Maybe that's, I don't know what you call a gotcha headline or clickbait maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
Very good. So, all right. Anything else that we should say about Cash Gordon?
No, I don't think so. Kind of enjoyable though. I mean, he's what I like, keeps those videos 10, 15 minutes, which I think is what, we've talked about with Dame Drops in the past. The shorter videos for our attention span, probably a little bit better.
Okay. Very good. Well, in trying to keep our videos, we've been trying to keep them a little bit shorter. So in trying to do that, let's talk real quick. I promote some of my stuff. I think I can give you a chance to promote your stuff. Anything going on with Bob Garver and George Thomas this week?
Yeah, we're going to talk film this week. Avatar, The Way of the Water is released. We'll talk to George about that. And we'll also talk to Bob about that. I'm going to record with Bob on Friday so he can see Avatar and give me his initial reaction. So we'll see what Bob thinks. I'm kind of intrigued to see what Bob thinks of it.
Yeah, Bob the movie whisperer. He'll tell you a little grumpy about some of his movies, but we'll see. I mean,
he likes what he likes.
What's the last one that he liked?
He really, really enjoyed The Menu quite a bit. Okay. He really just he was gushing over it. Oh, so wow. Yeah, I mean he called it one of the best films of the year. So he was a huge fan of The Menu.
Okay. Very good. What else you got going, Craig? You write for the Tennessean. Anything you got coming up of interest there?
Well, I just released a big story on gun and school safety going on, and then also covered we have a lot of Kurdish residents in Nashville. I have about 20,000 Kurds in Nashville as they sought asylum from the 1970s and just have kind of stayed here, and generation after generation has stayed here. So one of the largest populations of Kurds in the United States, actually the largest population of Kurds in the United States. So went to an event last night, wrote a story today on that. So that story should be posting fairly soon. So also working on a fun little evergreen story, popular dog names. I'm going to be that's going to be coming out later this month before the new year hits. So popular dog names. You'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Can you say one of them or?
Well, the biggest name right now in Tennessee specifically, but also really in the country, is Luna. Luna is the popular name. Bella, also we have a Bella, is a popular one. Daisy, Charlie, Cooper. So But I'm doing a story on the popular names, but also a couple of interesting names. Obviously being in Music City, it would be shocking to not see a lot of people name their pets as after their favorite musicians. We have a Taylor Swift dog that I'm going to be writing about. There's a Bruce Springsteen, so Bruce. So there's a lot of fun names that people have come up with, and of course, lending itself to the tradition of Music City.
Well, you got right about Taylor Swift. Obviously, she's popular in SEO, so maybe they'll attract a few more eyeballs in this sort of tradition.
Absolutely.
And hey, every segment I talked about some of the stuff I got going on. Hey, I wanted to mention, got a little extra time now for the time being. So I've been catching up with some interviews I haven't had a chance to do. One point you both in both their directions. A friend of mine from college, Doug, he used to be a reporter, Massillon Independent, Craig. He goes back a little bit of a ways. He's now a missionary in Ireland, and I caught up with him over the weekend. He told me a little bit of his story. We talked for 20 minutes. We're like, man, Doug, we got to go into more details. So I'm going to try to tape something with him Friday morning. I will try to release that over the weekend. And Eric Pickerel, he's my pastor, Craig, at Vineyard Columbus. Had Eric on, and he talked about the thing I like about the church is when it comes to stuff like abortion and politics, the church kind of bucks the trend that you see some churches that like certain parties do. So he gave some really practical ideas about how Christians can approach abortion or how Christians can approach politics. It's different than what some politicians stereotypically want you to do. Sure. Like what he had to say, Eric had a lot to say about moderates, and man, that catches my attention because I'm starting to become more of a moderate in a lot of stuff too. So, yeah, check out Eric. I did a good job. It was good to hear from him. So,
awesome.
All right. Well, you know what? We got a few minutes to talk about some of the other stuff going on in our lives. So let's close this for now. We can chat for a minute or two before I have to move on. But for Craig, this is Chris. Check out all the offers on our podcast page, and have a great night, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mooney. Welcome to what is our new Hope Interrupted podcast based on the work from our book, Hope Interrupted, that I co-authored with my good friend Byron McCauley.
Hey, Jennifer, I'm looking forward to this podcast as much as I was looking forward to writing this book with you. We hope to interview some high-impact folks as well as have a little fun.
We're going to cover stories of hope. To learn more about our podcast and our book, please visit www.hopeinterrupted.com.